you. 2 minutes, plenty of time.
Where are y'all doing the treatments in Dallas?
It's UT Southwest.
Jonathan, for picking that up.
So pills, I guess, because
That was $6.
It'll get to the
Walker
brain.
Reprographics.
She dissolve it in her mouth, sublingual?
I know, look at that.
Does it 5 days.
And she put the date where I
then
can
off
read it
3
without
weeks, 5 days.
I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, it is now 6 o'clock. Miss Robin, are you there?
We're still
Okay, we need you. Okay, the time is now 6 o'clock, and we are going to call the Town Council of Poetry Town Council meeting for beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on Thursday, February 15th, 2024. And we will call it to order. At this time, I need to remind the public that a disruption of this meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to Texas Penal Code 3813 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, any person who makes profane, slanderous, threatening remarks or becomes disruptive during the meeting will be asked to leave or may be escorted out by a peace officer and given a citation. At this time, volunteer clerk Robin Bowles will take roll call.
Hi. Jonathan Blick.
Here.
Simeon White.
Here.
Tom Anderson.
Here.
Terry Fowler.
Here.
Mike Jaffe.
Here.
And Mayor Tara Zenkovich.
Here. Okay, so quorum is confirmed. Now, who's going to be a volunteer to lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Listinian, thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where you want me to do that?
Would you mind?
Well, why not then?
Thank you, Cindy.
Well, dear Lord, as we gather here together for the betterment of our neighborhood and for the sake of our neighbors, I pray we keep that in our minds and make that our goal, that any differences that we have with opinions or protocol or how we can get to the objectives that we all seek or even personal problems we have with each other would just flow into the background so that we can focus on loving our neighbors as ourselves and following you, Father. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to enter our executive meeting, which is a closed meeting. So everyone who's here will have to leave until 6:45. So.
Oh, well, see you in a while.
Yeah. just get thoughts, and I go, and I thought about, last night about, we don't mention manufactured housing anywhere in that document.
That's true.
And so if we exclude it, does that mean
Right.
they can do whatever they want? Because so I'm just thinking it needs to be not excluding these, that it's included in our single, because otherwise they could put 10 things on 5 acres and say, county says we can do it, and you don't have any rules against it.
Exactly.
So that would be the simplest thing to do,
I noticed that too whenever I was reviewing.
because they could change the setback. Yeah, they could change the setback. Nothing would apply because it's not a term because we reference single family dwellings.
Right, as the unit.
As the unit, yeah. And we're not, so I think that's what needs to change. And I mean, that makes it clear, and if it is placed on a piece of property now where it's non-conforming, so is a house. We're treating everybody the same. If they can afford to buy one and put it on the property and it meets all our requirements, that's fine too. There's far enough back. I just think it says having single family dwelling saying it includes manufactured homes and houses would be clear. And I don't know if we have to discuss that next week, or can you put it on the forum? This is our final draft, and yeah.
It's not a major edit. The impression everyone was under anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're really just cleaning up.
Well, and then she came the other thing about the 100 feet. For the state, I think it ought to be consistent with what our guidelines. The size, I think it ought to match, kind of like you did the language in single family. I wasn't here from the beginning, so I don't know where that number came from. 100 feet. If they're on a piece of property that's only 200 feet wide, that's really deep, and now they have no way, because 100 feet from either side, they can finish their building.
So they just did one, so that's why I'm looking cool.
That was originally put in there by the DCC because we've seen people with really small properties shove a lot of horses in their city for sex and otherwise.
We're biased right now.
They can do that.
Yeah, like mine are like dead center, except if I didn't get them done, I'd go blind.
Yeah,
And something else.
I'm not married to it. That was not something I thought of.
yeah. Well, I didn't. It's like you read that thing and you all of a sudden you see something. And it's hard. It's hard to go back over it and think, well, am I going to catch something again? So that was a good catch, because I think it would. I think if we need to be consistent through the document, because somebody might argue what you say up here.
Okay,
Can we single that?
testing. I don't know if anybody can hear me. Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Going forward. Simple and consistent. That kind of thing.
Hold on.
Yeah. I just thought she got a good catch with it.
Testing.
And the fact that,
Testing. Okay, so the time is now 6:56. You have 4 minutes to sign up to speak if you'd like to speak.
right, we heard.
I mean, there's all kinds of things, but I moved in the country, I didn't expect that. So I hate to say that, this is a certain kind of lifestyle you can't have because of this reason, or you can't do this with this.
That's the way they live in
Now I think
by the hour.
we're measuring, like she said.
It's billable hour.
Well, I'm all for that. I'm all for less regulations.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be an easy strike to get out of there. We definitely need to
1 minute. You have one. Is that even on?
I don't know. Test it. Might have turned it down.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I know. I'm trying.
Hello.
Okay, the time is now 7 o'clock. Hello. The time is now 7 o'clock. Okay, so at 6:50 we came out of our executive session, and we've already, done the roll call and all of that. So if you haven't signed up to speak, you better do it within the next 30 seconds or so. So Council Member Mayor Pro Tem Mike Jaffe's going to kind of summarize what we discussed in executive session, and then we'll move on to the community items.
Okay, so in executive session, as was posted in the agenda, the first thing we discussed was a candidate for the position of town secretary. Recently, Tara had reopened the search for a permanent town secretary and has been interviewing a number of candidates. We're going to discuss one in the public part of the meeting tonight, but we just sort of had a back office discussion about any thoughts that any of us had on that. And then the second topic was to talk about the conduct of the council, and it was with regards to the meeting 2 months ago and some of the things that happened and how we could do a better job as a council leveraging our ability to use executive session like we use tonight, where we can speak more freely about our differences and our opinions and things before we come out into the public part of the meeting and show hopefully a little bit more unified front. We acknowledged in that discussion, I'll take credit for this because it's a little bit of a bad, that we have not always done a good job of that over the past 3 years, and I think that's caused some struggle with some of our citizens with regard to their respecting us as a council. And I know and I believe the others sitting here with me strive each meeting to do a better and better job of representing the people both that elected us and those who did not elect us but are also citizens of this town. So we have a commitment of the council consistent with our decorum policy that we're going to try to do a better job in the future of having our disagreements, our sort of more serious disagreements in private before we come out here and then air sort of the agreed upon part of those disagreements publicly.
Okay, thank you, Mike. All right, so I'd like to say thanks to Brian Vinson and Herbert Fetcher for assisting with locks for our offices. So thank you so much for their expertise in that. Thanks to Councilmember Mike Jaffe for cutting up a discarded boat on public property so that Blackjack could dispose of it. They said they would pick it up, but it had to be in pieces. Couldn't be a full boat.
I have to say, I've never cut up a sailboat before. It was fun.
Glad to hear. We also have extra food in our giving box out here. We've had some generous folks, so thank you for your generosity. If you know of someone who is in need, we do have it. It's full, and then I have extra here in the kitchen. So if they're, maybe we can bless somebody who's going through a rough time. So please encourage others not to litter in poetry. I've noticed when I was doing some road checks, we especially have some really bad littering in certain areas of our town. And that just detracts from the beautiful poetry that we love. So,
well, and I think it's my experience that as you let litter accumulate, it seems to be like a pass to do more. So I know when and others probably do this too, but when I drive my tractors around to feed cows, if I've got the spears on, I'll stop and pick up a couch or pick up a mattress or pick up a whatever and throw it in the burn pile because people, I guess they think it's a landfill out here. I don't know.
Well, and Blackjack has been really good about picking up. We had someone just dumped like 10 bags of trash and like 2 huge screen TVs, and they were gracious enough to pick it up as they, are like, really? So I don't know. So just an observation, and of course it's probably the people who are hearing me that are very responsible and don't do that, but, so, going on to reports, we have our financial report for January end. We have beginning balance of $83,910.91, ending balance of $89,803.05. Of course, this is January end. Already now, it's up to 97.
Charlie, just for clarification, the two guys laser engraving the 495, was that the banners?
That was the banners and the 4x4s that we did to advertise that the council, said, please help them. So yes, that was that.
Okay, thank you.
And he gave us a good, as best price as he could. Any other questions on those? We had withdrawals of $401.65 and checks paid of $8,639.72. You'll see on the next report, we had our sales and use tax revenue. The January amount was $92,9701. The February amount was $11,177.13. So with that added, our current bank account is actually at $97,300.
So it's interesting, I think we talked back in December, we wouldn't see Christmas spending until January, February, but it's building. Is it because they're claiming more businesses, or what's?
Well, I think the February amount is probably actually because I know when I pay my sales and use tax, it's the month after, so we're just, it's tricky.
And
And some don't.
See if it just keeps going up or if it falls back down.
I anticipate it will fall in March. I think that is your Christmas, just my guesstimate, but.
I'm doing my part with Amazon.
So it is kind of nice that all of our purchases in the town are going to that 1.5%. And it's helping. It's and 100% that this goes toward our road account. So, so the Q1 last month, Secretary Teresa was unfortunately sick or had surgery and was recovering, so this is a little bit later than I wanted, but here it is. And so we have our franchise electric fees are at close to 25%, so they're right on target. The franchise fees for solid waste are at 31%, so that's even above what we anticipated in our budget. You can see we're about a quarter of the year, we should be around, 25% on everything. So if it's a little different from that, then we either haven't quite allotted all of that, or maybe like insurance, we pay it once a year, so we've used 100% of that. You can see our mapping fees are only at 15.9% of our budget amount. So with a new engineer coming along and with the maps that we're gonna, that'll go up.
So any of these categories, Tara, that you would call out to us is we need to keep an eye on, or we're just way ahead of schedule?
Well, so the 15.9, that's, you would think that after 4 months that we might be closer to 25-30%, and we're well under that budget. So we're doing great on that. So the 29.9% on legal fees, so we're a little bit heavy, a little bit over on legal fees, and that's one reason I've tried really hard not to do any more executive sessions than we need with our legal, because we, when he was here for 2 meetings, it pushed us over our budget. And so I'm trying really hard to get back on track with that. So we made him leave tonight. He actually asked, so we had him here for the executive session, and it's like, okay, thank you very much. The other items, you can see, we have here we did budget $90,000 for the capital expenditure on road refurbishment. We haven't spent any of that amount, because you'll see down below under 6,100, we have $22,000, and we have spent for the roads for this first quarter. So we spent like almost 20% of that amount.
Well, because we're going to talk about a secretary tonight, we're underrunning on the secretary.
We are. We've done without a secretary for many, many moons, so we are, we're doing just fine on that. We're definitely under budgeted on that amount. So we had budgeted for 15 hours total at $20 per hour. That's what we budgeted, and so we haven't had but 5 hours a week secretarial help, so we're well above.
But behind.
We're behind on that, yes. So, one thing I do want to point out is that we are over budget on our electricity. Electricity was, has been more than I anticipated. Of course, I looked at my home bill and I thought, Jiminy, that's way more than I anticipated too. So I will say the trash service, because of the Blackjack agreement, we won't have to pay that anymore. So that'll kind of go all in one lump sum, and that'll help with some of that. So I have tried to lower the thermostat to 50 degrees 6 days a week, and then hopefully when we get the skirting on, that'll make a difference on our utility here for this building. So, all right. Any other questions from council on that? So if you look at the total number at 20%, we're well under budget. It's not 25%. We're doing great on our budget. So we have received more income and we've under budget. So it's looking great. Okay. All right. So secretary's report. I have asking our prospective secretary, Ann Hamilton, to read this report.
I don't have it.
Here, I'm going to give this to you.
Okay, thank you.
Put her on the spot here.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Got it?
I got one, yeah.
So now she just had eye surgery today.
Yes.
So that's the reason for the dark glasses. So,
I'm not trying to look cool. Okay. Okay, it's gonna take me a minute to adjust. There we go. Is this on? I guess it's on. Okay, thank you. Okay, Secretary's report from Therese, I cannot pronounce her last name, I'm sorry.
Scholander.
Deputy Secretary. Reminder, the Town of Poetry's Town Hall has 2 shelved enclosed boxes outside the hall. One is a lending library with books, and the other is a giving box. Both are located as you approach the front door. Please feel free to utilize and help yourself. If you are aware of someone in need, please stop by and take what you can. Please bring a shopping bag. Thought, if space is available, a few cans of pet food may be a nice donation also. Be on the lookout in your mailbox of the February newsletter or at various locations around town. If you have something to contribute, please email secretary@poetrytexas.org. I will pass along to the appropriate person handling postings. Be on the lookout in your mailbox for upcoming letter to all Hunt County and Kaufman County properties within the Town of Poetry regarding the Town of Poetry zoning ordinance. Spring weather is around the corner. Let's do what we can to keep poetry beautiful and enjoy the upcoming change in weather.
All right. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
And having surgery on her eyes as well. Kudos. Yes, very good. Thank you. So a couple of housekeeping things. In the past, we've had FM 93.1 in the parking lot available. We had to nix that because of it was giving feedback and making the recording less than it should be. So just so you know, that is not available at this time. We're working on it. And also I've been given instruction by our sound engineer. So council members, please speak into your mic when you speak because it makes it a lot easier to hear you on the recording. And we are online at poetrytexas.org under town meetings on the video. Is that all? Okay. All right, so the minutes from the December 21st, 2023 meeting is first on the consent agenda.
Well, since there's nothing, then motion to approve.
Wait, I do got something.
Well, we
Okay.
need to move it.
Yeah, can we move this to the regular agenda for
Move it to regular, and we
edit?
can talk, anybody has any questions?
Okay. We have a motion to move this to the regular agenda. All those in favor? And that passes. Okay, so we'll move that from the consent to the regular. We'll make that item A. The second thing on the consent agenda is our legal bill of $292.50, which will help that overage. So,
Well, we can't ask any questions on that either, right?
No.
So can we move that, because I just have a question for clarification.
okay.
That'll be B.
All right, so all
Let's
those,
see. Is this working? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a little quiet earlier, so thought I'd check.
okay, we have a motion to move that legal bill to the regular agenda. All those in favor? And that passes. Okay, and that'll be item B. Okay, moving on to the regular agenda then. We have our minutes
Under
on
number-
item A.
Under number 1, listen to the presentation for statement of qualifications. It says that Ray Bramley Exceed gave their presentation, but I don't see where it says Burkhoff, Hendricks, and Carpenter gave their presentation as well. It says number 1 under regular agenda,
You're right.
so we'll need to go back and add that and probably bring it
Was
back
that
to
in there?
council.
'Cause we have 2 printings of this,
It's
right?
the second copy.
Okay, was it in the first one by chance, or just got dropped?
I don't think it
I
was.
have the both of them here.
Well, wait a minute. It says engineering, Exceed Engineering and Burkhoff. It does show both of them.
It says on the top, but number 1, number 2, it doesn't, it says Ray Bramley of Exceed, but
Gives
I would think,
presentation.
yeah, and followed by questions and answer. I would think the way we listed the numbers, it needs a number 3, that the representative from Burkhoff, Hendricks, and
Oh, so you're saying, okay, this says it on the item 1, but then underneath there, you're
Yes.
saying it should say
I think so.
number
The two
3.
different firms.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's some spelling errors that we can clean up, Brian Vincent, Doug Kindred, but that's all stuff that we don't, the main thing is I think we just need to capture under number 1 that the other firm gave their presentation as well.
Yeah, so we're going with the second one you sent out, right? Because there was also a problem with the lettering on the first one coinciding with the agenda, but the second one is good.
Okay.
It coincides perfectly. so.
Okay.
I don't remember the guy's name from Burkhoff to be able to make that amendment now. and
I
approve it,
don't
so
either.
I just say
But we
bring it
can
back with amendments. Or pass with amendments.
That's easy to look up.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin, I think it was Justin Ivy, if I recall. But-
And I would say if Tar or whoever wanted to look over it, I don't think it matters, but Vincent, Kindred, there's a few name spellings, but I wouldn't, I mean, it doesn't make us not approve it.
Okay, so where did you see the?
Number 2, Citizen Brian Vincent.
Number
Vincent.
2. Oh, yeah.
Number 3, Citizen Doug Kindred, it's Kendrick.
It's hard to know all these
No,
names.
I get it.
So we need a
Kendrick.
permanent secretary.
So this is, yeah, so this, I asked our candidate secretaries to type the minutes, and that's why they're not familiar with the names, so it's kind of a good pretest.
But they're pretty good-looking minutes.
I appreciate that.
And it is tough doing these.
I told you I was gonna have a problem with spelling of the names.
That's okay.
All right, so,
So I'll
Any
move to
others?
approve
Okay.
yeah, if there's no others.
Second.
Well, I'll move to approve that we add the correct name for the representative Burkhoff, Hendricks, and Carter, and fix the spelling of the names.
okay. All those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Okay.
And then on the legal bill, Tara, it's just a clarification, and I
Yes,
think you
sir.
said this in one of your emails to us, but we have a carryover amount of 292, or a prior balance of 390. Was that him forgetting to put his mileage in there?
No, that wasn't the mileage. That was the secretary, their secretary hadn't received the check yet, but they have received
Oh, I was
it.
gonna say, because
Yeah.
we've been real good about paying every month,
Yeah,
so.
no, we have.
So we really don't owe, we owe 292.50.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that was just,
Okay.
they try and send them out really, and I actually asked for this one early because the way it fell in the month,
So we are approving
the
the
292.
payment of 292.50.
Yes, sir.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, and that passes unanimously.
And I was gonna say, we have been really diligent about paying.
We have, and it's so nice to get that
Okay.
bill every month on time. Very nice. Okay, so we already covered one, so we're going to move on to item, well, actually, there's citizens who might want to speak on item 1. The executive session, I kind of took it out of order, so my apologies there. So for the executive session, were there any citizens that wanted to speak on that? Okay, I have Darrell Watson.
Hope I can do this without choking. Sinus thing. Hello, my name is Darrell Watson. I reside at 6423 Green Meadow Lane. I signed up to address agenda item 1. In review of a hard copy of the December meeting, which we watched by live stream, I feel the urgency to show my support of efforts to conduct a bit of housekeeping. First, I call upon the supreme authority that everyone will ultimately confess as being Jesus Christ, our Lord, on bended knee. Lord, I come as a broken vessel, ashamed of my shortcomings, and eternally grateful that you look beyond my faults and saw my needs. Lord, please quicken each and every heart to listen to what you would have us draw from tonight's meeting. It is in the name of Jesus I pray, and for his glory. Amen. While it is understood that public meetings have exclusive closed-door executive sessions, it is also the case that oftentimes anyone who has been following local council meetings have a general understanding of at least some of the subject matter that executive session meetings are addressing. It is my intent to zero in on one point that I believe either has been part of executive session discussion or needs to be. I'm not here to call names or cast judgment. The matter of integrity, however, is the responsibility and expectation of every citizen. Whether we serve the community just by being a good neighbor or by volunteering, we should remain an example of Christ's love toward those who we are in contact with. Whether we are on the payroll for the town or serving in an elected position, that same is true with even a higher bar to maintain. I say that for simple reasons. Leaders must remember that they are followers. They are in the limelight by default. They are supposed to serve the community that voted them into office and remain fair even when it ain't easy. So I'll say this in public. There has been those, both elected and non-elected, within the community which wear their feelings on their sleeve. Meetings have been disrupted far too often by parties on both sides of the podium. It's an affront to common decency and an embarrassment to the entire community thanks to so-called social media. So whether you sit in the audience or on the council, straighten up and fly right. Let's get beyond petty differences and handle business. If you're in a position to serve, that does not mean to be a bully. The same goes for us as observers. I yield back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. Glenn Strauss? Okay. Tracy Hibbs? Something West? Okay. Shelley Smith? Patrick Smith? I'm so sorry, I'm trying to make this out, but is there someone else who signed up that I'm not making out the name?
You have initials, you have...
That last name.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna make a guess.
We got a doctor.
So is there someone else
Somebody with
who?
bad handwriting that, okay, there he is.
Well, no, I think you're speaking on the other thing. Okay. Did you want to speak on number 1? Okay, so I'm sorry if I can't read it, so please speak up or forever hold. Okay. All right. Okay. Moving on to item 2 then, discuss and take action on Resolution 2024-0201 regarding rock crushing plant application on Highway 276 with the 2.7 miles of our town border. So we brought this to the attention of the council, I think in the December meeting. Since then, I've gotten a little more information, and I did invite a resident, I don't know if he lives here, but an area expert who has been in the rock crushing and the rock business. And so, Mark Clark, would you come up, please, sir, and give us 5 or 10 minutes of your expertise?
Okay, my name is Mark Clark. I'm over in currently Quinlan off 2546. It came to our attention back in the very first part of December. My son is in the industry. I've been in the industry, if you want to count, going back to working summers, 50 years. So I started working when I was 15 years old in the rock crushing business. Started in Arkansas, moved to Texas 25 years ago. Came to Texas, worked for Lattimore Materials, which was the largest privately held company of its type in Texas. We poured over 3 million yards of concrete, ran over 300 mixer trucks, and 175 over-the-road tractor trailers. My part was managing the sand and gravel, the rock crushers, and the over-the-road tractor trailers. So I bring a little bit of understanding about what's trying to go on over here. So, like I said, in the early part of December, it came to our notice through my son, who's in the industry, happened to pick up on a permit being solicited for over off 276 at the sand pit. And I started digging into it, brought it up to a group of men that night at a cigar night in our local community. And this thing took legs after we talked about what actually was going to be attempted. So we started very first week of December. We got our signs going. Y'all seen the billboards, Crush the Crusher. You've seen a lot of media going back and forth on what's going on. But the reality is, guys, that the permit that has been applied for allows up to 2,640 hours at 200 tons per hour. That's 528,000 tons of crushing. There's no concrete over there. So all this concrete has to be brought in. It's going to be brought in on 276. It's going to be brought in some possibly through y'all's community. It's going to be coming down 35. It's going to be coming down 1565. So that is just bringing the material here. Typically the trucks that bring the raw material in are not the trucks that take it out, because the ones that bring it in are typically called demolition trucks. They're a lot heavier. They're not utilized to take finished product out. So you can double your numbers when it comes to truck counts. It figures out, if you do the math, approximately 16 trucks per hour, 160 trucks per day, 6 days a week. They are attempting to get a permit from 1 hour before daylight till 1 hour after daylight. So concrete, not the benign substance that a lot of people want to make it out to be, coming from the industry. Like I said, we poured over 3 million yards of concrete in a year. So I brought, everybody puts a fence post in the ground, quickcrete. You look in the fine print, which most people do not. You rip it open, you pour water to it, and you pour it in the hole. It says, prolonged or repeated inhalation of dust may cause lung damage or cancer. Do not breathe or swallow. It goes on and says handling a NIOSH N95 respirator is recommended. It goes on further and it says contains silica sand, Portland cement, may contain fly ash. So the components of concrete, it goes 10, 20, 30, 40. 10% cement, 20% water and air, 30% sand, 40% rock of some type, either rock or gravel. Cement is approximately 25 to 30% silica in itself. There in the state of Texas, they push and try to get a substance called fly ash. You all heard of fly ash being. That's a byproduct of coal, the coal process, the coal burning process. It's a process that, or a substance that has, I'll just read some of it, between 40 and 60% silica dioxide, which is the bad stuff. It's got aluminum oxide, which you get into the aluminums and you're talking about dealing with the brain, iron oxide, calcium oxide. That can be 25% of that concrete or that cement number, okay? Another thing about fly ash, there was a very large spill over in Tennessee that involved a lot of people on cleanup. And, you know, it's just one of these things that if you're not in the industry and you don't dig into these things, excuse me, okay. Yeah. Anyway, there was a large spill where a containment pond that contained all this fly ash breached and it went out into a community. There were over 300 people that were involved in the cleanup. Over 100 of those people have died. They have suffered lung diseases. There's a litany of problems of people that were involved in the cleanup. So anyway, that's going to be approximately 25% of that cement mixture. The next thing is the benign thing that we all deal with is sand. Sand in Texas mainly is 95 to 98% silica dioxide. Rock, the rock side of it. Within Texas, most of your rock that's sourced up in North Texas is limestone. Limestone is a low component with silica, 4 to 5% at most. So your rock out of Weatherford, your rock out of Bridgeport, very low silica. But a lot of rock from this area that is used in concrete comes out of the river bottoms. It comes out of Rosser and that area. That's high silica. It's called siliceous gravel. So getting at all these numbers, you slice, dice, and chop, it figures out about 40% of a yard of concrete, which is 4,000 pounds, is silica. Okay. So this stuff goes into a crusher. All they're mandated to do through TCQ is have some form of water on it. If you go to our website, Crush the Crusher, it shows the exact crusher that's being asked to be permitted, and you can see the dust flying. This concrete gets broken up. These dust that are generated through this crushing, the naked eye can see down to 40 microns, okay? A grain of sand is 100 microns. The stuff that we're talking about that is dangerous, that gets into our lungs, is 10 micron and 2.5 micron, which you have to have almost an electron microscope to see it, but it's out there. So this stuff with a 12 mile per hour wind, the 10 mesh, or the 10 micron can travel 2.3 miles. 5 micron can travel with that same 12.4 mile per hour, 9 miles. So prevailing winds in Texas, it changes southwest in the summer, north. So in the wintertime, a lot of that would be coming straight toward Poetry. So we have jumped on the bandwagon over there. We've tried to be we're pro-business. Like I said, I came out of the industry. There's nobody trying to shut the sand plant down. We just don't want a crusher in our backyard. We've got today we went over 1,000 comments within our community.
So Mark, can you explain why silicon dust is so harmful?
Yeah, once again, if you do research on it, New Zealand and Australia just got through ceasing all man-made, everybody's remodeling kitchens, and you see a lot of the quartz tops. So they have stopped that totally because of what it's doing to mainly the Aboriginal population that's having to work on it. It's getting in your lungs. It's like asbestosis. It's like asbestos. Once it comes in your lungs, it binds, it doesn't leave. And your lungs then start trying to fight it, and it causes disease called silicosis. It's uncurable. I had, in our company in Arkansas, we were in a high siliceous rock called novaculite. If you have, the older guys, if you got the old whetstone, probably a Smith whetstone, that's novaculite rock, very high silica. So we had a driller that worked for our company that at the age of 27 died from silicosis. He had been drilling, didn't use water because water slows you down, and he inhaled this stuff, 27 years old. So this isn't just some Greenpeace, some environmental group that is running around saying the sky's falling. This is real stuff. I'm from the industry, and I want to speak the truth.
So Mark, we all need concrete.
Absolutely.
So what is your suggestion for someone like who wants to have a rock crushing? I mean, where would you suggest they put it?
Where the sun don't shine.
Once again, the state of Texas, somebody said, why is TCQ, why are they in favor of this? And, well, you can get into all the politics, you can get into industry. There's a very strong lobbying group in the industry called TACA, Texas Asphalt and Concrete Association. They're very, very stout. A lot of money goes through the politicians there. So the need is there because the cost of bringing material from Bridgeport by truck is almost prohibitive. Hence, you see the rail down at Terrell. So that's cutting some of the costs, but once again, it's all about money. You get into the thing of placing these to where there is a considerable distance between the crusher that's emitting the dust and the nearest neighbor. The permit only requires 440 yards, quarter mile from a school, a house, or a place of worship. And that's it. That's all they require.
Well, I guess, Mark, is it a true statement that theoretically, if they were doing lots of water and all of that, maybe that would be okay, but they're probably not?
Yeah, and I've got 2 pages of mitigation things that you can do.
Right.
Our business, typically us using material that would make the rock that went into the concrete, is a totally wet process. We start pouring water to it before it ever goes into the crusher. When it goes over the screens, it's being washed. We have screws to dewater it. Same thing with sand. The sand's usually wet. We're either dredging or drag lining it out. It's wet when it gets to the plant. We're using water immediately. So yeah, if they were using the water. But making base, to process-wise, when you make base, you want to make it dry. And that's just getting your tonnage. Because if you put a damp glob of material that contains crusher fines and cement that's got water on it across shaker screens, these things blind over.
Yeah.
As a chemist, I have a question here, and that would be, if they're putting a lot of water on it to reduce the dust, that water then is getting the silica and other contaminants in it, and then that in itself is also going to cause a potential hazmat or health issue, correct?
Where does the water go?
Into the water, it goes into the creek that is right there, which goes into Lake Tawakoni. that's the other thing about this permit. This permit is only about air. We can't talk about water. He's over there dewatering his pit now. And you're supposed to monitor, you're supposed to take grab samples, you're supposed to monitor oil and grease, you're supposed to monitor total dissolved solids and total suspended solids before it ever gets in.
TCEQ doesn't have jurisdiction over the water part? Or
They do, but it doesn't have anything to do with this air permit he's trying to get. And they don't want to hear. I mean, you can go up there and mention water and then just, so everything that we've been focused on over there has pertained to the air. But yeah, when you have that water, it gets into the groundwater, it gets on your crops. You know, you cattlemen that are raising cows, you're looking at, there's all kinds of studies about what silica does to the grasses and also the livestock. So once again, these things they have a function, they have a use, they are needed, but they need to be out away from the general public.
So in your packet, Kevin created a map where it shows the current sand pit there on 276, and then this is just a 9-mile, it's a 9-mile radius. So and of course, the first part of Poetry is 2.7 miles. And I just kind of, off the top of my head, I counted, there are like 8 schools in this area. And of course, children with asthma is concerning. So when I started getting a little more educated, I thought, wow, this is more concerning than I first thought. So the Lisa Washington and her husband, I attended a meeting in their home and of course talked with Mark, and I thought, this does potentially, it goes all the way down to almost the bottom of our town. So
There are studies that show the 2.5, once again, this is unseen, this is smaller than a red blood cell. That's how it gets into your lungs, but it also gets into your bloodstream. I mean, you're a chemist, it passes that cell membrane because of the size of it. But there are studies that have been made that 2.5 micron particle can travel hundreds of miles. Hundreds.
So Mark, you worked for Latimer for a long time?
I did.
You reported a lot of TxDOT contracts?
We did.
What's TxDOT's base material?
Either Bridgeport or
Crushed concrete.
crushed concrete.
Arcosa's crushing all their concrete.
Yep.
I'm not against you. I too want a cleaner community, but do you think y'all have any power when TxDOT says we're fixing to redo 30? That's where these 528,000 cubic tons of concrete's gonna come from. Do you think when they're gonna lobby in Austin? I mean, do you think y'all have a possibility of getting it shut down when TxDOT says I need that crushed
We
concrete?
have a shot. The community of Union Valley, which I don't live in Union Valley, but they have retained an attorney and a doctor that has very extensive air knowledge that has written some pretty telltale stuff. So to go up against TxDOT, yeah, I understand.
The reason I ask, because 30's a corridor, right? And if we're replacing the corridor, houses are built off of corridors. It's like, where do you push this thing that's still affordable for TxDOT to appease the masses, but, I mean, have you looked on the map, like, where?
Do you know where one is? Do you know where one has been?
Well, Congress went up on George Bush there. I mean, they ground up a lot of that highway for years.
Lattimore had one. If you go behind Four Brothers Tractor, they had one on their side where we used to rail.
I mean, there's one here, there's one on 35. Yeah, there's lots of them.
But the main thing is, once again, the house exposure.
I get it, yeah. I just wonder if y'all have even considered that your fight's probably gonna be with TxDOT.
Well, that doesn't diminish the fight.
No, it
but
doesn't.
I think, too, you would think this is gonna be a moneymaker for whoever sets up a candidate. So you'd think several people would be vying for that, right? I mean, this ain't the only place in town that can smash the concrete up. You'd think somebody up towards Josephine or somewhere else might be trying this, just right off the highway, maybe in more rural, I mean, they're backing up the houses with that crusher. I mean,
There's a company on over toward the other side of Greenville that I heard was looking at putting one in.
They got one.
Could a geodesic dome be feasible?
Uh,
Contain it and filter it?
Yeah, if you
It'd be
were,
a cost.
yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
an
a
extreme
horrendous
cost, and once again, that ain't gonna happen in Texas.
So, Mark, thank you so much for your time, your expertise, appreciate it. Lends some education to us, appreciate that, yeah.
Just get my facts straight. 25% of cement is silica?
40.
Up to 40%.
Yes.
Okay. And 10% of the final concrete product is cement. Just so we got our terms right.
Yep.
We're speaking of powdered cement versus finished concrete
Concrete,
product.
yeah. Cement is the powder.
Okay, so 2.5% of the total, or of the end concrete mixture on the truck.
I'll leave you.
But he was also saying there's some in the sand and
Yeah.
other.
So the sand or the limestone, so up to 40% is,
Sand was a blessing.
That's an MSD, I'll show my age, MDS.
I'm familiar with them.
okay,
MSDS, that's the old one.
yeah.
Okay.
So as a matter for clarification, there was a proposed concrete batch plant in Rockwell County, and they withdrew that one. It's separate from this one.
Yes, that's a batch.
Yes, so someone was getting it confused, so I do have the TCEQ letter there. I think that's also in the packet, but that is in Rockwell County. It is different from
It's
this
a little
one.
off topic, Mark, but since you're the expert, I mean, a batch plant would pose similar hazards, right, if they don't run it properly?
No, your batch plant has bag houses. The cement, when it comes from, most of it comes out of Midlothian.
Right.
It's coming in covered tankers, it's pumped off pneumatically.
Okay.
It goes into a bin that is totally airtight, and then it goes into the truck with water on it.
Okay.
So your only dust that you really have around the concrete plant itself is truck traffic, and most of them do a pretty good job of
And is
keeping.
that because that part of the industry is more heavily regulated or supervised than the rock crushing people that just kind of set up willy-nilly and start smashing
And
things?
that goes along, yeah. It's a higher barrier of entry to get into a concrete plant versus a crusher.
Okay, so we have on the table, thank you so much, Mark. On the table, we have a resolution, 2024-0201R, and it's basically just saying that a resolution from the Town Council of the Town of Poetry, Texas, opposing an application for an air quality permit for permanent rock and concrete crushers submitted by Dry Creek Materials, proposed air quality registration number 174388. So the people in Union Valley asked us to lend our weight to their measure, and so if the council approves it, then I will email it up to them, because I have the deadline tonight. So, yeah, so that is,
Will this be submitted to the county commissioners as well? I mean, I think.
well, the county, I was there that day that the Hunt County did a similar resolution against opposing, so that was interesting. Our commissioner here, David Monroe, actually read it. They had a unified front, though. They opposed it. So,
Tara,
Yes.
Dry Creek Materials LLC, that is the one on 276, just down from Union Valley towards Quinlan?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
On the left there, there's a sand pit
Used to be
currently.
firewood, now it's a big hole.
It is a huge, huge sand pit now.
Okay.
But they're wanting to further make it a rock crushing plant, and that's where the concern comes in.
Okay. You got comments? Citizens?
Glenn Strauss? Okay, Tracy Hibbs?
Tracy Hibbs, 9441 County Road 2432. This is just a general question. What's the difference between the sand, like, on your, or the rock on a driveway? You know how you get the dust if people drive too fast? Is there a difference between that and this?
Yeah.
I know.
I think the expert left.
I wanted to, and he skedaddled out of here.
I'm gonna make a guess that there's no difference, but that's an absolute guess, just because it's the same.
Well, we're not,
Well, the difference between what you have in what they're producing and what you have in your driveway is the dust you're getting in your driveway would be the larger molecules,
Okay.
and sand is the smaller molecules.
Okay,
Doesn't make them less lethal. In actuality, it's inverse. The larger the particle, when you inhale it, the more damage it's going to do, and the longer, the easier it's going to take hold in you.
yeah, because I wish my neighbors would slow down on their driveways. Because, I mean, the dust.
Now, that's an argument I have not yet heard until tonight. Slow down, that dust is gonna hurt my lungs.
You know, I'm all for keeping the environment as safe as we can keep it, so, if we can help our neighbors out, I think we should do it.
Thank you, Tracy. Chad West? Okay, and Mark Clark already spoke. Okay, that's it for that item. Okay, do we have any more discussion? Oh, I will say something. Just today, I got the letter from TCEQ via Lisa Washington. They do have a hearing now. It's Thursday, March 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m. It's Ford High School Auditorium. It's 10064 State Highway Spur 264 in Quinlan, Texas. So that will be the TCEQ hearing. And that's where a lot of this is going to be going, and they're going to be deciding what they're going to do with this. Okay?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve our resolution 2024-0201, and it has been seconded by who? Blake? And all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, item number 3, discuss and take action on a city secretarial candidate, Ann Hamilton.
Stand up again?
Yes, ma'am, they're gonna pummel you with all kinds of questions, I'm sure.
No reading chart.
I'm walking very slowly because I'm afraid my depth perception is not really well right now. Okay. Hi.
Thank you for applying.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll give a little bit of background information. I went through the Indeed, it's an app or program, and I got like 182 applicants, which was mind-boggling, to say the least. But I think a lot of these are just checking boxes, and you get deli managers and people who it's not really applicable for our needs. But so after spending hours going through them, I narrowed it down to like 6. Well, actually more than that, about a dozen, and then just really studied the resumes, and then I interviewed about 6, and so Ann's on top. So I did have a few of the applicants, I asked them to do the December minutes, because that's a huge part of this job is, can you do the minutes? And so, and it takes a lot of hours, and it's hard, and can you summarize them? So that was part of the pretest. And then, and if you can make it through 4-hour meeting doing minutes, then you probably have the right frame of mind for this job, because it's not easy. So anyway, we had some questions that came up during the executive meeting. I did call your references, thank you. So the references that I called a Jasmine McClellan out of Sensory Spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
She said you're professional, you're a team player, and she would definitely rehire you. And then I talked with a Frances Espinoza of the North Texas Fair Housing Center.
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly, she was a tester, and I had to find out what that was.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's kind of a secret position.
oh, is it? Should I not say it?
No, you can.
Okay.
It's just,
Do you want to?
yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about it, and I worked for them for quite a few years. But when Trump became president, the workload went down. So it just kind of depends on who the president is, what their priorities are. So basically what they do is they're looking for discrimination in housing. And I actually traveled to some other areas in the country because they were like short on testers, so they would ask Dallas, and so Dallas was like, well, here's our 2 good ones, so they flew me and a couple of people out, so that was kind of nice. But what you do is they send you to, like here, I'd go to an apartment complex, and they'd give me a backstory, you know, I'm a single mom with 3 kids, or whatever the story is, and go there and, you know, look at apartments, and get the information, all this other stuff. So I do that. Well, then a couple hours later, they'll send in somebody else with a different demographic and a different backstory to see if they get the same story. So you're just looking for inconsistencies based on race or ADA or things like that. The ADA ones were fun because you would go in with 2 people. I'd go in as a partner. It's the only time you ever partnered up with somebody. And one person is distracting the leasing agent while the other one's going around with the tape measure, measuring everything. So I had a partner that we actually got down pretty well, but just to see that everything was ADA compliant, you know, the toilets were high and, you know, the counter spaces were what they needed to be. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Did that for 4 years or so, and then like I said, when Trump became president, it kind of dried up because that government wasn't putting as much money into that project. And I haven't really talked to them. I mean, I sent them.
She said you're still on the list.
Yeah, I sent them something a few weeks ago, and I said, hey, I don't know if you guys are doing anything, because I didn't really think about it once we had a new president. I said, but if you are and you need anything, just give me a call. So.
Yeah, she said you pose as a renter and then you write up reports and you're on call. She said she was with us for quite a while. She was reliable. She goes, in order to do this job, you have to be reliable and you must write well. So they kept giving her, she said, we kept giving her more and more work because she was reliable and did a good job. She goes, I got to know her and liked her very much. She's likable. She's still on our list, but it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Her needs aren't very much right now. She said she's smart and organized. So.
You just don't come to my house. Yeah.
Are you posing today?
Yes, no. Not yet.
Teresa's role in QuickBooks, will Teresa continue to do the QuickBooks work?
So Teresa's a deputy secretary, and as you know, she had to pull back from the 15 hours to 5 hours, and she loves numbers.
Which is great.
She loves numbers. So, and there's 2 different roles here. So Teresa is happy as a lark, just doing the financials, doing the QuickBooks, and she's good at it, and she'll continue the public information request because you have to have an invoice for that. This position is the 10 hours a week. It's doing the minutes, keeping the website up, maybe helping with the newsletter, looking over some of the legal stuff, sending you all the packet so that I don't need to do that anymore. Hopefully.
Do you do QuickBooks?
I have touched it, and this was way back before it was probably a lot easier now than it was then. So, and it was pretty easy to just learn any computer program, in my opinion, especially now that there's YouTube, you can find anything. But I can.
So it's a maybe.
Yeah, I know a lot of Excel, and it's very similar.
Okay.
So if I had to, could I pick it up and do it? Like if she were out of commission, could I do it? Sure.
Yeah, that's the question.
Yes. Yes.
So when Teresa's out, like for surgery or whatever, I pick it up and do, because I use that at my other business, but we can certainly cross-train. But I definitely see this position as kind of a different hat. I know Union Valley now has 3 secretaries. So,
Well, that was my only question.
yeah. So
That work.
Yeah.
I think you're great.
Thanks.
We chatted the other day.
Yeah,
so
we did. We
I already
did.
made my opinion.
Yeah. My background is, well, what I went to school for. I mean, how many of us? Yes. Yeah, that's my foreground. Well, it's like how many people, do what they went to school for. But my background was journalism, and I was a news writer for many years. And you'll find that you may have to train me to, one of my hardest problems is being creative writing. So luckily, hopefully that won't come in. I'm very good at get in, get out. That's just the facts.
yeah, you need just the facts.
Yeah, the hardest thing I ever did, I don't know why a counselor did this, but my senior year of high school, I took journalism, and then they signed me up for creative writing at the same time. It was the worst experience ever. So, I'd have to write something for creative writing, and it would be like a paragraph. And she'd like, you have to expand on it. I'm like, but everything's right there, So adjectives, I have no idea what those are anymore. So it's just, I get in, get out. So if you find that I don't put in enough information, just retrain me. because I'm just the facts is kind of my thought process. Yeah.
Yep, that works.
I have a question, though. You mentioned about, that I missed, because I've watched that, I only saw one
The
person
minutes?
talk.
Yeah, there was two.
There were two? How did I miss two people talking?
That's okay.
Well,
Okay, because I watched it, and the one gentleman came up and spoke for a while, and then I never saw another gentleman come up that meeting on the 21st.
I hadn't watched the, maybe.
I haven't, yeah, I don't know. It may, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I'll go back and,
But I think it was Justin from the other, but yeah.
Okay, okay.
What did you do at the call?
At where?
North Central call, Council of Governments.
Those are honorary type titles. When I was at the school board, they sign you up for a bunch of other committees. And they're like, oh, you don't really need to go, because the school board, especially in GISD, is a full-time job. And that's kind of a, yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit. That's a surprising, that was a very eye-opening type of a role, because when you're running for election, they ask you all of these questions, you know, you go to these debates and they ask you these questions, what will you do about busing? And because at that time, GISD was the only school in the state that still bused their students because they wanted to remain ethnic diversity. So even though you lived right across the street of the school in Rowlett, you may end up going to school in downtown Garland. Doesn't mean you're going to get to go there. And so that was a big question that a lot of people had during the debates. And so they ask you a lot of these questions about kids, and then you become elected, and you have no power over any of that. The only thing that we did as a school board was we ran a $90 million business. That was what we did. And we built things. It was construction. It was, you know, that's what it was. The only
But no policy or,
I'm sorry?
no policy or?
No, the only power I really had over children was we could hire and fire the superintendent. Everything else, at least in Garland, everything else was, the superintendent was in charge for that. Like, I've been watching, you know, keeping up with what's going on, you know, currently in the world, and I know that Loudoun County has been on, you know, their school board, and a lot of other school boards have been on the news quite a lot, and the parents are going up there and talking about all of these things. We had no power over any of those things, like, you know, books in the library and things like that. We didn't have that kind of power. So I don't know if that's a Texas thing. I don't know if that was just a Garland thing, or just because maybe it never came up. I don't know. But basically, all we did was kind of a lot of what you did. It was a lot of construction. It was meeting with the construction people. It was, you know, building schools, and because you know, it was growing a lot. So that was what we did there.
So the question, oh, you want to go ahead and
Well,
answer?
my one and only question, I'll be like Tom, I'll just go to one, is it just, what is it about the job that interests you? I mean, it's,
Well, after the school board, you know, my son was born while I was while I was a board member. So, and then I got divorced during that, so I kind of stepped away from it. And then it just the last 5 or 6 years or so, I've been like, man, I really want to kind of get back into political, and I've started taking some classes online, at Harvard Online, some congressional classes and things like that to learn what, because in high school, you know, I didn't pay attention to any of this stuff. So now I want to know, I want to learn more about how government works. And so this was, I thought, was a great idea, a nice way to kind of get myself back into the groove of politics and government and how small government works. And that was my interest. So when I saw this, I was kind of excited. I was like, hey, this gives me a chance to get my feet wet and, you know, learn some things and kind of get back into it, you know, slowly.
wow, that puts a big burden on us.
Yeah. How long would you be interested in holding a job like this?
I have I mean, I have no plans to, you know, like, oh, I'm going to go here and then go here and then I'm going to go here. I mean, I have no plans outside of that, just...
And is 10 hours a week enough?
Yeah, I mean, I have other things that I do, definitely. 10 hours a week is plenty, especially when I was reading your job description. I'm like, 10 hours a week? How do you plan that happening? You're expecting Superman, but then I was like, okay, well, it's a small community. We're not going to be doing all of these things at all the time.
No.
So I was like, it's kind of funny. I'd like to see how she's going to squeeze all of this into 10 hours a week. But, no, and it's interesting, you know, and as I'm listening to it, I'm learning stuff even just now, you know, about how things work and I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the, and the parameters and, learning about what the law is, what we can do, what we can't do. And so it would take me probably a bit to feel comfortable where I would say, hey, I'm ready to move on to another, the next step. But I like to feel like I know everything in and out before I do that. So it just depends how much information you keep from me and how long it's going to take me to learn.
So we should dish it out real slow.
Yeah.
Bring it along.
Well, there's always continuing education
Yes.
with the
Oh, that there is.
municipal clerks. You can actually have a huge, and you can have a degree in it, in municipal management, so.
Yeah, I didn't, like the classes I took at Harvard really have nothing to do with this. I mean, they do. It was congressional courts. It's a super long title. It was basically about Congress and how that works with the court system. So, just so that when I'm listening to these people talk, I'm like, okay, now I know what you're doing. Now I know what you're talking about. That it was just more for my reference, so that when I'm watching the news or listening to you guys talk or whatever, I can learn more about. I'm not like, completely in another world. I'm like, okay, this is familiar. I know what you're talking about. So,
Okay.
learning the law, that side of thing.
All right, so we have Tracy Hibbs, Glenn Strauss, Shelley Smith. All right.
Should I move?
Question her or just
They're going to address the council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is, are we checking to make sure that she will be available to come to the meetings? A very great example is what she just said, where she did not notice that there was someone off camera who spoke. So at the last meeting, we learned that the video is not admissible in court. And so that we're taking the minutes strictly from the video is a big concern to me. I think having them written by someone who is not in attendance is not a good idea. Also, the policies and procedures say that the secretary should be available at the meetings to answer factual questions. So I'd really like to see if we're checking to make sure that she can do that. Anyhow, yeah, that's it.
Okay, I can allay your fears. That was one of the key things. I did look at the law says that we need to have a city secretary in the meetings, and so we did discuss that. And I did discount some of the other candidates because they had too much basketball games and too many conflicts at night. And so that was like one of my first questions I asked is, can you be available for the Thursday night meetings? We might have special meetings. Can you be available 2 or 3 nights a month even? So, and then also on the Fridays before, so yes, that box is checked.
Good.
Good. Okay. All right. Nobody else?
We'll have more access to town hours. Will the town hall be open more hours?
Probably not. So,
Looking good.
all right, so do we have a motion?
I motion to hire Miss Ann Hamilton as our secretary.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember White, seconded by Blake, to accept our secretarial candidate Ann Hamilton for this position, part-time position. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ann. All right, welcome aboard. And I've got your paperwork to sign.
Oh, great.
Because you got to attest something tonight.
So will she get a separate email?
Good question. I definitely want to do that, and I asked Josh about it because it got very confusing when we had 2 secretaries, very confusing. So my proposal was going to be secretary.hamilton@poetrytexas.org. Josh is already on it. It's like $87 a year. It was very, I'm sorry?
Kind of like CM.
Yes, because it just is too confusing. Yeah, yep, okay.
And then you know who's responding and who's not.
Yeah, we learned that. That was one of our trial and error things we learned. All right, so number 4, discuss and take action for a spring cleanup day, Saturday, April 20th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Normally do this 1 month in advance. I decided that, you know what, we could use a little more advertisement. We could use a little more community involvement. We have a lot of, like I said, littered roads, and I'd really like to see maybe the school kids get out on the less dangerous roads. But we do have orange vests, and I mean, just more of an involvement because, man, it looked bad. There's some areas that it looks bad. So I would really like to see maybe, not just, we had, I think last time we had several people bring their junk from their garage, and that's fine, to fill up the dumpster because it's free and that's a service. But it'd be nice to have some people actually take a trash bag and spend a couple hours on a road and help us, de-litter our roads because some roads are looking really, they look like downtown Dallas or something, like in areas, I mean, it is bad. I have pictures. And they put it in the newsletter when we're advertising. But anyway, I'd like to really get the word out more and maybe encourage someone take a block, That would be something, if we want to keep poetry beautiful, we'll have at least 2 dumpsters, maybe 3. I think Texas Contractor was generous last time and provided a dumpster. And then we already know that Blackjack has said they'll do 2. So, and we filled up at least 3, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 or 4.
3 or 4 last time,
Yeah.
so, anyway.
Yeah, I'm huge fan. I mean, we've had a good response. It seems to get better each time, and I'm okay if they're dumping their garage stuff, because at least they're not throwing it in the ditch.
Right.
Yep. That's the truth.
Yep.
So no action required?
Okay, number 4. Okay, Tracy Hibbs?
So I really appreciate the cleanup days, and you're probably way far ahead of me on this. I think a good suggestion would be the county roads that are the worst. Put those on the flyer, so maybe those people on those roads would start picking up trash. Just a suggestion.
You know what? Didn't the county sheriff say that he could get inmates out here to pick up trash?
He did, you're right. And I actually did try to call, and they weren't, I don't know that they're available on a Saturday, so maybe if the council wants to extend it to maybe a few more days before Saturday. They weren't, I think that was the problem, they weren't available on a Saturday.
They have off of jail. Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Because the constables who only work Monday through Friday are the ones who
Yeah.
pull their shotguns.
So that's a whole nother,
There's plenty of shotguns out here.
idea.
That's the truth.
Too bad.
So I was thinking, if we wanted to extend it for a few more days, maybe the school could get involved and, they have helped on the roadway, they have their 2-mile stretch or whatever. But it might allow more people to participate, and maybe we make it, 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday or something. It's just a thought.
Yeah, the kids can do the less dangerous roads and they can do the more dangerous roads. Hey,
Any comments on that? Glenn Strauss, did you want to say you're signed up? Okay.
I make a motion, we commit to that.
Okay.
Second. April the 20th.
Is it April the 20th or just one day or multiple?
Well, I'm fine with, if we want to, I probably don't want to run it to Sunday, that kind of violates a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday or Saturday. I mean, they're not in a hurry to get their dumpsters, so.
No, they haven't
2 days
been.
is good.
Okay, does that sound good to everyone?
Yes,
Second. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Jaffe, seconded by
Pick one.
White, I think this time, to have a Friday and Saturday cleanup day, April 19th and April 20th, and 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Hopefully we'll have more people who can be involved. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay. All right, so anybody want to take a break before we do this? You want to take a break? Yeah. Okay. We'll do a 5-minute recess. The time right now is 8:13. We'll come back at 8:18.
Yeah, it might be.
the time is now 8:20. Our break is over. So we're going to move on to number 5 out of 8 items. So discuss and take action on a street dynamic solar-powered speed and communication device for roadways to collect data needed for grant applications for road work according to price sheets provided. So we had previously the street, Stephen Barlag, I believe that's Barlag, come and give us his presentation, and then, so now we have the price quote. There's 2 of them. The first one doesn't have the flood sensor. The second one has a flood sensor. So, you know, depending on where you're going to use it.
Flood, it says floor, but that's flood.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
flood.
Flood. I think down here it says flood. So the first one is $38.84.50. The second one is $5,057. And so I think we, you know, he presented, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes last time, and we asked a lot of questions. So I don't know. I don't know if it's something that we.
Can we go back, Tara, just to restate kind of what our thinking was on this for my benefit and others as to why the town would make this investment and what we would hope to gain from it?
Housekeeping, I just got a text message that we need to turn the sound back on.
Streaming, is it turned
The
on?
streaming on. Is it?
It's there.
Okay, all right.
Hello, we're here.
We want to make sure everyone can hear. Okay. Got that one.
This is another one.
Okay. Thank you.
If I could interrupt real quick, since I had to get a ride here, I didn't realize my neighbors outside, so if it's okay if I.
You signed the paperwork, so you're
I
good.
did all that, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
I'll be driving myself going forward.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good meeting you.
Thank you, and,
You can't drive after cataracts.
yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah, no. Yeah, she had to have a friend bring her. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. I just wondered if we might review just sort of the relationship here between buying a lit up sign that monitors floods and speeds and spending money and all of that, because I mean, you were bragging on the forum today, rightfully so, that we finally got a little money stored up in the road fund. So we can do a few feet of road if we wanted to, but I just wanted to make the connection here between this and what it might bring us.
Right, okay, so at the Texas Municipal League October conference, they have a whole room full, if you've been to trade shows, like I've been for years, a whole room full of people, you know, selling their wares to municipalities. This fella stood out to me because, one, it was solar powered. It had the capability to collect data. And so I'm thinking, okay, grants, we need data for grants to set ourselves, you know, there's hundreds of cities across Texas asking for state grants. How do we set ourselves apart? Well, having some good data could do that for us. He did provide this data, so it does have, with the subscription, $617 a subscription for 12 months, it provides all the reports that you could possibly need and then some. So in order to maximize, you know, right now we have, I think, was it $80,000 saved up for our roads. This could, and I did talk with legal, this does qualify under that category. Our sales and use tax revenue can only go for roads, and this could qualify to help it. And the way that it would help is if, you know, I think, for instance, on Poetry Road, that's probably the road I get the most complaints about, hands down. He was saying that if we had one of the road signs on one end and one on the other, you could get data who passes through versus who's not. Now, we do know that counties even will ante up. If you can show or prove that you have, say, 60% traffic is pass through, then they can ante up. Other counties do it all the time. So ante up for that percentage of help on your road. So it could help in a number of ways, not just the grant. So I think the advantage of having one at each end, we could prove what is actually, you know, residents who live there versus what is just passing through.
And do we know, and this is a little unfair because we didn't talk about it the last time because it didn't occur to me, but I know the state has the ability to do some of these kinds of things, right? They came out and counted cards for a few hours when they were lowering the speed limit thing. I mean, does Monroe, our commissioner, does he have like even the old rubber tube counter things that he could loan us or rent us or something that we could do some rudimentary
When I was
numbers with?
first elected, I supposedly got on the university list I'm still waiting. Yeah, I'm still waiting. On the little list on the list to be able to use the little traffic counter.
They must have to do that from time to time to justify their stuff.
Right.
You would think they'd have the
And I don't think
equipment,
TxDOT would allow us to use their equipment for, any length of time.
Well, state and county doesn't mix, so they wouldn't think so.
So I did bring our potential grant writer back to discuss about this. So Alan, if you could go ahead and say, because for the benefit of those who didn't hear him last time.
I'm Alan Donnan from Quinlan. Thank you for asking me back. Tara called me this week and asked me a very good question. She said, is this necessary for the grant? No, it is not. I will write the grant, I will submit it, and we will give them the information as best we can. But let me take and also point out that looking at the TxDOT grant list, the grants opened 5 weeks ago. There are 44,000 applications right now as we stand here. Now, we have to look at this. I look at it, one of my degrees is in law enforcement. I did, in the Navy many years ago, they started something called shipboard training. And while you were out deployed, you had the opportunity to have classes. Well, now they have it for all of the military, and I used that. I have 3 degrees. Unfortunately, I had too much spare time. And yes, I minored in chemistry. That's where my chemistry background comes from. That comes from my major in marine biology. But that is all beside the point. One of my degrees is in criminal justice. In that, I learned something very interesting. Hearsay evidence, even witnesses, are no longer really considered prima facie evidence. A good DA can get an eyewitness disqualified, get their whole testimony disqualified simply by saying, what were the color shoes they were wearing? What works in this day and age, in this time that we are standing in right now, is data. Forensic data wins cases. Data, computer data, gets you money. Now, Mr. White made a very good observation with the question that he posed to the vendor of having 2 so that you could find out how much traffic you have that's going through and how much is local. Great question. Loved it. This equipment allows you to do that. Now, your rubber hose things, all those do is count how many vehicles. What this equipment does, it gives you 3 categories of equipment: cars, trucks, and major trucks, big trucks. Now, can it tell you whether it's an 18-wheeler or a box truck? No. But it'll give you whether it is an oversized vehicle. And as I said last time, what we consider here in poetry heavy traffic. Yeah, we got heavy traffic. And we can say that all day long, and we do. But when you got a guy sitting in Austin, does he think poetry is going to have heavy traffic compared to College Station? No. But does that street in College Station have as many cars going over it of certain classes that are wearing it down? They don't. Now, College Station, their grant was disqualified because their tax base exceeded what they were asking for. Great. That's one that we don't have to compete with.
43,999.
You know, so, you know, we have to look at how do we make our grant look legitimate. Now, sometimes, and I mentioned this to Tara, when you go to the bank and you don't have two coins to rub together, you need the money. Is the bank going to give you the money 90% of the time?
No.
No. If you have the money and you're spending a little bit and you're getting more, you're asking for more, you have a better chance. And that's where we're at. I'm not going to take and look you in the eye and try to guarantee you that having those signs will get you the grant. It will give you a better shot at it, and that is all. Is it necessary to have these signs to get the grant? No. But what it gives you is raw data, and it can also give, you know, some of that stuff that you can take and find is, you could set that up to where some of your roads that you know you're not supposed to have oversized vehicles on, and if you're running them and you're picking them up on there, and you know what times they're running, hey, you can get Mr. Beavers or one of the constables over here to take and sit on it. Get the commercial guys in. It helps you as a community to make sure your roads don't wear down faster because of misuse. It's going to, if you get one with a flood sensor, and you know you got a rainstorm coming out, you can put them on either side of 1565, and when the water gets to a certain level, the signs go on automatically. So, I mean, there are advantages to it. And it's you, the city council, that has to look at the people of your community and decide whether the cost and benefit equal. I will also say that what you're looking at for spending on these, on probably both signs, is less than what you would pay a normal grant writer. Normal grant writers are going to take anywhere from 3 to 12% of the grant. If I get you 1.2, which is what we're going to ask for, that's you're saving that money somewhere else.
And what is the grant we would be asking for to do?
Repair, maintain, and infrastructure for the roads is what we're asking for. We're asking for a road grant.
Not totally replace?
What we're gonna do is I have acquired the rough estimates verbally of what both Kaufman and Hunt say the roads need for complete redo. I took those numbers, I added 15%. That would be for cost increase of material and workmanship, so that you can take and get all of the roads in the Poetry area redone and back up to a new.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about Poetry Road.
I'm trying to get you money to do all of the roads, sir.
Huh.
Wow.
So you pulled some numbers and you're saying we can rebuild, replace every road in Portrait for 1.2 million?
I believe, and if I remember right, wasn't 800 and something was what Aaron gave you for the roads?
I don't recall. And of course, over time, things have changed.
Right, and that's why I've increased it. But I'm thinking now, if you think it needs to be higher, you let me know how much higher you think it needs to be.
Now, are you talking about just county roads or county and private roads?
We can't spend money on private roads.
Only county roads?
We would
Is
only.
that considering cost sharing? Is that like we pay 100% of the cost?
Well, it depends on the grant. We talked about that. Is some of the grants, you have to ante up 10 to 20%.
1.2 million doesn't seem like, my gosh, it costs you tens of thousands of dollars to put in a rock driveway. I mean, 1.2 million doesn't seem like that's.
Well,
again, we take the numbers that we get from the county, and we'll add money to that for deterioration and, of course, like I said, increase.
I just wonder if they're thinking grind them up and redo them, or they're just gonna come in and skim coat them, or just.
Well, there may be some that just need a stem coat, there may be some that.
Of course,
but
now that we
I'm
have an
gonna say that at
engineering
this
firm,
point-
it'll
at
help
thi-
us.
At this point, what I am trying to do is get it to where all of the roads, you have enough money to do all the roads. Now, at the end, any money that's left over will probably have to go back to Texas.
Well, fair enough, we get new roads right now.
I know some communities get upset because what happens is they, at the end of the project, they've got money left over and they think they're gonna put that in and hold it for future. No.
We just want the road.
Yeah, no.
And there is a lot of this money that has been returned over the last 3 years, and that goes into a pool. And one of the gentlemen I've been conversing with wasn't sure how much was there, and he wasn't sure how we would have taken right up for it. It would be a grant, but it would be written differently than the grants that are out there in public. These are a limited type thing, and he's not even sure how it would go. He and I are supposed to have a phone meeting on Tuesday, and I'm supposed to get some information from him on that, because he had to go to his supervisors and to the accounting department to find out who the money could go to and how they would acquire it, and how much was there.
So 44,000 grants are vying for this. Do we know how big the pot is?
No, sir.
Is it $1 billion? Is it $100 million?
It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars that the state has available. And the grants the minimum that they're saying, if it's less than, I think it's 800,000, they're not gonna look at it. If it's more than 9, you get 9. So they're trying to spread it out as much as they can.
And do we have a good sense for what their criteria are? Are they trying to help the rural areas? Are they trying to help the poor towns or the new towns?
We're looking at, this go-round is aimed mostly at the medium-sized towns. We did have one a few years ago that was for new towns. The same grant, but it was different criteria that time. What they're trying to do is each 2-year cycle that they do this grant, they try to make it for a different demographic so that they can get more money to other people. But this one does require that the community have no utilities being provided to their citizens from other municipalities. You can have a water district or co-op electric, that type of thing, but no water, sewer, power coming from like Terrell or somebody else. You have to show a tax base of both an income and property tax. And I understand you have both of that now.
We don't have a property tax.
You don't have
for
a
the
property
city.
tax yet?
No.
Okay, that may be a sticky point, but we'll see if we can work through on it. The income tax was one of the things.
Well, we have county property taxes.
Okay.
We pay county property taxes, but we don't have a city property
Okay,
tax.
so there is a property tax available you get the road money on that?
No, we get none of it. When
Really?
we became a town, we opted out of that whole pool of cash. So-
Well, I mean, okay, so when we partner with the counties, for instance, Hunt County, they ante up with labor and equipment, so we're benefiting.
Okay.
Our tax dollars are benefiting in that way, so we pay for materials cost and diesel, and
Okay,
they.
so we
sort of benefit that way.
We can allude to the fact that, yes, there is property tax being paid, and there is a city sales tax.
But I
So-
wonder if that's a hard criteria set on their part, because they want to know that you're at least making an effort to pay
Exactly.
for your roads. We aren't, because we don't want a property tax, because we
Right.
don't want to burden our
But
people.
we have a
100% of our sales
sales
and use
tax
tax
goes
is mandated. The
for
way we
roads.
And
set
that-
it up is mandated, 100% must go for
But I
roads.
wouldn't want to come across to the reviewers as being defiant. It's like, listen, these guys aren't even trying, okay?
And that's
They're
what
not
the
levying
sales tax
property
does.
tax,
The
so
sales,
we're
the sales tax being 100% to the roads
Yes.
shows that you are not standing there with your hand out saying, gimme, gimme, gimme.
Right.
You're saying, we want to do this, but we're too new to, we're still young and trying to get our feet underneath us, and we need a boost. And that's all it really is. So,
But I guess what I'd like to know, and you don't know this and we don't either, is okay, we're one of 44,000. Whether we have one of these signs or 1,000 of these signs, I mean, is that gonna make an impression on, does it even move the needle on our odds, or are they still like a bazillion to one?
that's a question, you're right, no one knows the answer.
Yeah,
But,
no, it's
but
not
again,
a-
it comes down to when we present this and we have a data sheet that is showing how many trucks, how many cars of what class over this time frame on this road, and we can show it with hard data. And
It sets us apart,
and
because otherwise we have
Homerville over
nothing.
here doesn't have anything but, oh yeah, I got a couple pictures and I got these statements that say that the roads are bad. I mean, it shows,
Do
it
we have
gives
reason to believe that some of the submittals are that lame?
more than likely.
Okay, we're speculating, but we think there may be some that just say, hey, we just need some money, send it to us.
Having lived in a place called Mineral Wells, I can say that Mineral Wells probably sound lame.
Well, so you say we're 5 weeks into this cycle, so we have to get in, and if we miss this round and we get rejected, I mean, is it like every year we're gonna get to try? Because you say
Oh, well,
every year. they
there's
focus
many
different.
there's more than one grant that we can go after, number one. And if we miss this one, or which I don't think we're gonna miss it, but if we don't qualify for this one, or they say no, yes, we can try it again. This one is basically it's every other year. Because what they do is, rather than giving you the money in October and then saying next October, we gotta finalize this. They give you you have 6 months of applications, and then you have 18 months of being able to do everything before they close it out. And during the application period, they're gonna come and they're gonna audit and we're gonna square up. So that way, you're not under the guns to try to rush into taking a bad bidder. You can find somebody that, you can take and work with.
That's if you're selected, if you're one of the.
If you're selected, exactly. Now, the grant, there are grants, as many of you know, that you pay 10, 15, 20% of the cost, and they give you the rest. Those are, big cities can do that, large middle ground cities. Smaller communities would struggle with that. And that's the purpose of the grants I'm looking for, are the ones that don't require the buy-in.
Yeah, if it's $1 million, it'd be
No,
$100,000. Well, it'd be $100,000 if you had $1 million.
The money, the
Yeah,
pool
we'll
that
accumulate that
we're
eventually,
looking at,
Yeah.
is that something like the highway trust fund that takes money from gasoline taxes? Or is it general revenue from the
It's-
state?
I don't have the actual answer, but I'm going to make an assumption that the answer to that is yes. Probably a little bit of both. It is money that the state Congress has delegated to be issued by TxDOT to communities for infrastructure and roads.
But it's not the money from state taxes on gasoline, diesel?
I can't say yes or no on that. I don't know. Some of it could be. I mean, it is seeing how most politicians aren't very in Austin. Most politicians in Austin aren't very transparent. You really don't know what one hand's doing up there with the other one. And could they be taking some of that money and not telling Joe Public how they're getting it?
Okay.
I don't think they really have to inform us where the money comes from, and they're not going to.
I see.
So you said something, Alan, that was interesting. So if we can tell at certain times of the day that we maybe have certain hours with the data on this solar powered sign, we could tell maybe when we might need law enforcement. And I know that kind of, I've been getting an uptick in people complaining about speeding, about big trucks. So it's not just, I probably get more complaints actually of that than actually potholes. So, you know, trying to gauge the people and what they want. You know, we have talked about it before is, you know, could we assign a part-time police officer certain times, and that might help us to know, okay, what is the best time to do that? You know, is it 6 to 10 Monday morning, or is it, what is it?
And that, again, that's something that would give you as the city council the information to know when was the optimum time for your part-time law enforcement to be here.
What's a typical time period to survey a road? Do you do it for a month or 6 months? I mean, what's the window?
I would say at this point what we would do is pick 3 of the roads and do each one for a minimum of 3 weeks once the signs are deployed. Pick your 3 busiest roads, ones that are in the worst condition because of the traffic. Do those, whether with 1 sign or 2. Get that data. In the meantime, I've got the grant about half written right now. The language that they are requiring is not really legalese, and it's not common language. It's political language, and I'm having to look up half the terms that they're asking for, and it's like, okay, that's what they mean. Okay, fine. It's very convoluted, and I found myself answering in part of this question. They want this information, then they want that information, and come down here, and then they want this information, which is actually nothing more than a summary of the first 2 paragraphs you just did, but they want it worded a different way.
I do believe that, yeah.
I mean,
So now, if we had these signs, is the idea that we would say, put it 3 months on Poetry Road, and move it, the 2 signs to 2434, my road, or one of the others? In other words, every few months, move them to a different, in other words,
Every 3
we
weeks.
have 2.
every few weeks.
Well, he
yeah.
said, well, yeah, I
mean,
think,
initially,
I
but-
think 4 weeks or a month would be, sounds
Okay,
a
but
little
the
more
idea is we
reasonable,
can
but
pick them
yeah.
up and move them to other
Yeah.
roads.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are, I imagine take someone's pickup, they're big.
And as he said, even though these signs do have the subscription part where you have a subscription where you can sit in your office and log in remotely and get the data, you don't have to do that. You take your laptop or your PDA, you walk out with an USB cord, you plug it in, and you get the same data. So, I mean, that was something, and I did ask the question, is there a cost break if you have more than 1 sign? And unfortunately, the answer to that was no, which I was actually a little bit surprised about. But he did, again, reiterate quite clearly that you didn't need the subscription part to get the data, which I thought which was showing that he was concerned.
So the subscription for 12 months is $617, so.
I mean, I don't think it's that long of a drive, no matter where we put it up, so.
I mean, if you're going out every couple weeks to 3 weeks to move them, when you pick them up, you can download the data.
I think the only takeaway for me is you can change, I think you can change it via laptop more easily if you did have this subscription. That was is that what your understanding was?
No, you can
change
it's
the
just
data?
as easy to change the signs and change the function, whether you want to have the speeding sign, the flood zone sign, the count, anything you wanted the sign to read or what you wanted the sign to be displaying. It was whether you were remote or plugged in, it didn't, the way he presented it, it didn't seem like it was going to be any different.
Okay.
Right.
Other than you wouldn't have to log in to an application someplace if you're remote, which you would. When you plug into the computer, or plug in the sign, it's just like a external hard drive.
Okay, we do
Makes
have
sense.
some, thank you. We do have some citizens. Tracy Hoods.
And I just gotta say, thank you, Mr. Allen.
thank
If
you
this
so
ends
much.
up working out, I mean, you'll probably be one of the greatest blessings this town has had.
you'll
I
be a
mean,
man
You know, I know I said this last time, and it is heartfelt for any group, any community, to take the steps that you did 3 years ago and try to become a community in this day and age, in this economy. You are the blessings. You're the heroes, because you guys took on something that wasn't easy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
If anyone has any questions, otherwise I'm going to jet out for dinner.
I'd leave while you can.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Tara does have my phone number. If any of you gentlemen need or want to talk to me directly.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you so much, Alan.
That's if she gives it to me. Bye, Tara.
Bye. Glenn Strauss.
Glenn Strauss, 11072 County Road 2454 in Poetry. 2454, we pull out of our driveway and we turn west on 2454 and go about 100 yards to Poetry Road. And about 90% of the time we turn right and fight that road all the way to Rockwall County. So if I can make some kind of a donation to help buy these signs, I'm all for it. All right? I think Poetry Road is an ideal candidate to become a county road. The traffic is unbelievable on that
County or
road.
state? State road?
What did I say? Farm to Market Road is what I meant to say. Farm to Market Road. Thank you.
Oh, it should be that. That'd be great.
Oh,
Well, I have heard from citizens on that, and that's,
yeah.
there's a lot of citizens who don't want the road in their front porch, because remember, their right of way is 50 feet on each side instead of 30, and so it
Can
would
I,
be.
can
end
I
up in the
bill them
porch.
for continuing realignments of my front end and buying new tires?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, Patrick Smith? Patrick Smith?
I think I signed up first.
Okay, Shelley Smith?
See there.
So let's look at this on a more personal citizen level, okay? This company, Applied Concepts, Inc., which does business as Stalker Street Dynamics. It's funny that the word stalker was left out of the meeting last month. I personally don't want a flashing light parked in front of my house. And I don't know if any of you guys are willing to volunteer to have this speed limit sign parked in front of your house. And let's say the town opts for the customization of adding a license plate recognition attachment to the sign. Who's willing to have a gizmo that now records you every time you come and go from your property? Sounds like an invasion of privacy to me. I moved out to the country for privacy, not for Big Brother. I urge the council to give some very, very serious consideration to this proposal before you accept it. And perhaps the councilman most in favor could step up and have it put in their yard. Thank you.
Me?
Okay, so Patrick Smith?
Patrick Smith, Kaufman County. I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to try to hit the highlights. To me, the question that was asked by this expert and was answered is the deciding factor. And that is, what are the odds that if we spend all this money, $5,000 or $10,000, we'll actually get a grant? And his answer was, no one knows the answer. if you can't answer that question, how do you do a risk utility or risk benefit analysis of should we shoot $5,000 to $10,000 out and hope maybe we'll get something back? And yet nobody knows, is that a 1 in a million chance, 1 in 100,000, 1 in 10,000? It's premature, I think, for the council to consider making any purchase tonight, because the expert, for the first time I've ever heard or seen in any material, says there needs to be a tax base of income and property tax. And then when he learned, well, we don't have a property tax, he's like, well, I need to do some checking. That could be an issue. Once again, if we're buying this equipment to try to qualify for some grant, I think the council needs to know, do we even meet the requirements? Or are we going to buy $5,000 or $10,000 worth of signs that maybe will get us nowhere?
So there's several grants every year.
Okay, I'm going to run out of my 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I thought you were finished.
I was surprised that at the prior meetings and this one tonight, there were no materials in the in the meeting packet about this stalker company and what their vendor terms and conditions are and things like that. So I went to their website, and once again, before you think about buying anything from them, take into account that their agreement says seller's commencement of the work on the goods subject to this purchase order, blah, 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 shall be deemed an effective mode of acceptance of this purchase order. Any acceptance of this purchase order is limited to acceptance of the express terms contained on the face and back hereof. Any proposal for additional or different term or any attempt by seller to vary in any degree any of the terms of this offer is hereby objected to and rejected. So what they're telling you is, you don't like the terms of the agreement, you take it or leave it. It's a very, very long agreement, and I'll try to hit just a couple of the highlights for you. First of all, they make it very clear that your private information and the data that you collect is also their data, okay? And I'd like to kind of hit the highlights, but if you don't want to let me, okay?
Can I hear what he has to say? Is that allowable?
Okay.
It also indicates that
20 more seconds.
It also indicates that the content and your private information, and I'm going to have to cut real quick to the chase, it can be sent by them to countries outside the United States, and there is no guarantee that that personal data and information will have the level of protection that exists in the United States. There's many, many more things, but I don't want to overstay my welcome, so thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So that would be, if he's concerned about it, the information being uploaded, if we had it on our own zip drive, but there would be none of that available. So, well, if it's on our private computer, I don't see that could be a
You're saying if we
problem.
don't have the subscription,
If we don't have a subscription, they won't have
they don't have
access.
access to it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the most important thing. Yeah, if it's on their cloud-based, then they're absolutely gonna take the terms of that.
But are you certain of that? They're gonna have the hardware in there to transmit it to themselves.
It's got a 4G transmitter in it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
Just
good-
because we're not subscribing to extra
Doesn't mean they're
extract it
not reading
ourselves,
it.
doesn't mean they're not reading it.
Right, and
Right.
they could be. I mean, they found iPhone to be transmitting data to many, many companies, including to the FBI for some recent bust. I think it was over 1,000 last year, so, I mean, personal data is not very personal.
I mean,
won't
driving on a
disagree with
highway
that.
isn't very personal either. I don't know that
So if we
there's,
take the 4G antenna off of, well, where do they get cell service in poetry? There goes your warranty.
yeah. All right, Del Bryant.
Bill Bryant, it looks like to me that, you spend 10,000, we can get 1,000,000, 100 times our money. That does sound good, but I do agree with Mr. Smith that maybe we go back to the grant writer and say, give us an outline of what the criteria are, and let's make sure that we meet that criteria before we do spend $10,000. But all in all, it's a good idea, and we do need to do something. but we're never gonna get our roads fixed any other way.
Thank you, Dale. So I want to clarify something. So in talking with Alan over months, so just because this one grant that opened up 5 weeks ago, maybe we do or don't qualify, doesn't mean that we don't qualify for 3 others. There's grants all over the place. So these are just state grants. There's federal grants. So even though maybe we don't meet the parameters of this particular one, or maybe we do, he's still investigating, there are other grants, and there will be grants. So we need to be ready when those grants come. So it might be a new town in next year. There might be a grant that opens up just for new towns, and we would still qualify because we're under 5 years old. Or there might be for a certain population, or it might be for, rural town. So grants vary and year to year to year, and so we need to be ready regardless of if it's this grant or not.
And that's what kind of interests me the most, because he mentioned that, us as a small town, we can't pitch in, 10, 15%, but if it's gonna be $1 million, 100,000 to 150,000 isn't gonna take that long to accumulate with what we're bringing in for sales and use. I think we can qualify for those pretty quick. It'd take a year and a half to save up that, but.
A 10-90 kind of thing, like you said, where we do 10, they do 90.
Right.
I'd take that all day long. I mean, that's huge. That's a big multiplier.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think he should try to get us a grant for that too, if we can.
Well,
I
and
think
some
that
of them
would
are
be nice.
25%, then it can be.
To Dale and Patrick's point, I don't know, my business brain is running, and I'm just thinking, so what are the opportunities, what are the odds, what are the leverage points that we have or don't have? I mean, I guess I just don't know. I hear you speaking, Tara, and I don't disagree. I'm sure there's like all kinds of money out there, but I don't know. I don't quite understand it, so it's not real enough to me. I mean, I like the gadget. I think the gadget is cool. I don't know how long it would last out here, considering mailboxes and other things that have a low survivability rate, but it's cool. I like numbers, and I think numbers do have power. I agree with Alan. I mean, you go to them it would be great. I don't know, law enforcement, I think is a whole separate issue. I think that's more of just, building relationships and getting them to do some special enforcement stuff. Because in the olden days, when I was a cop, they had STEP. They had special traffic enforcement programs, and they incented police departments to run traffic for these, and they paid overtime, and I don't know if they do that anymore, but, it's like the department didn't have to spend any of their budget to go out and do that stuff. Because clearly we have issues on our roads. I mean, 1565 down at the bottom there is like a racetrack. I mean, it's insane how fast people go, and they're passing each other.
Or they don't need to.
So what if we were to maybe go without the subscription? It would bring it down to $3,200. We have some investment. It would give us some data, but the cost to the town wouldn't be that significant if we went without the subscription.
I'm just curious, are there other companies that do this, and do they do it without the big sign? I mean, do we have to advertise
Even
that?
a reference, another town.
Can we still gather the data and count cars and the size of cars, but we don't need to we don't want to advertise it. If we don't advertise there's a data device there, then it's more likely to stay there than somebody wanting to shotgun blast the.
The flashing part may not be a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to have it flashing. You can just say, welcome to poetry, or have a good day.
Yeah,
but we don't want that. I love the fact that they have a way to limit the top speed so the teenagers can't get out there and see who can get the biggest number.
Get 99 on it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we do get a lot of people complaining about, okay, it's 35 here, and I swear they're going 70. So if we set it at a high number of like 70 maybe, then people will self-regulate. Because, I mean, there's times I don't know.
There, it's just a thrill. I mean, I'm not sure.
Well, there's some people, though, that are conscientious and just don't realize they're speeding.
To me, the more useful
That's a certain
thing about the
percentage.
sign, I mean, we could obviously use it for advertising or something like that if we ever needed to, like with the trash service.
It's big.
But
I mean, it's a little bitty sign.
see, what interests me more is the flooding area, because it does get a little dangerous with the moving water, and they get.
That's a state road.
They put up barriers that we drive around.
Well, no, they've got flood gauges, and presumably it's online somewhere. You can probably go look up when it's flooded, because they've upgraded all that equipment down there.
Oh, equipment.
doesn't stop people from driving through it. If they want to drive through it, they're going to drive.
Oh, yeah, I post it on Nextdoor all the time. I tell you, when it's at this high, how much water's over the road.
I mean, it's mostly the people from other towns that have been drinking too much that I've caught several of them. In fact,
the
just
wedding venue
last
people.
year. Well, I mean, even a guy from a bar last year, I was driving behind him because he was swerving on his motorcycle, and he crashed on 1565 and popped over a ditch and broke his femur, and it was a whole mess. I was glad I was there for him, but, I mean, drunk people drive there all the time, and they're just gonna ram through the cones, so. I don't know, I like that it's versatile, that's all I'm saying.
I just think there may be other solutions, though.
And I would like to read the contract before we agree to it. If the approval of the quote is an acceptance of their terms,
Yeah.
then we should have been provided their terms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I was
mean,
just looking through them, we got their collateral, but of course, they didn't put any T's and C's or anything in there, so. But
So say that again. Your concern was what?
I want to read the terms.
So he gave us a packet, our packet of information.
No, it's not in there.
It's not in there. I mean, it's just their cut sheets and then.
Patrick had it.
But again, it'd be nice to have a reference. I mean, do we have any other town that's used it that would say, oh my gosh, we love this, or you know what, we looked at some other guys and.
I mean, there were some references on the website, like 3 or 4 towns that did say, hey, it's been a game changer, they love it. But
Oh, wow.
what's going on?
There's lights over there, red and blue flashing.
Oh.
Big news.
No, we heard something a while ago too.
Besides the moths coming in,
You okay?
we have the door. So, I mean, I guess there's no major hurry, but you know,
But no. I mean, but
Yeah.
if we could get those terms.
the
provided.
terms. Yeah, so we feel comfortable with it.
I'm gonna research, I'm gonna
References,
trust somebody
terms.
else too. Yeah.
I like that idea.
Well, I mean, in looking, of course, I was racing through, this company seemed to have the cutting edge more over some of the others. And so,
Yeah.
but there might be other companies out there.
I think we got at least another month before. I mean, we want these to be on the road for a while,
Yeah.
if we're gonna end up doing it, but if we got 6 months and we've already used 1 for the grants, then if we approve it next meeting, we'll still have 4, so that's 3 to run the science and 1 to send in the grants, so.
So,
I point out it's 9:05.
Maybe if we're just ready.
And the other benefit is Alan is getting more smart about the grants each meeting. So he came back with more
Yeah.
info, so if we can just keep dragging our feet, I think he's gonna have this thing.
all right, so we want more information. I got it. All right, let's move on. Number 6, Hunt County Project Sheet H11. Now he, yes, finally, yesterday, he sent me $6,000 for those roads. So for CR 2458, 2451, 2460, 2440, 2426, and 2400, amount of $6,000.
Okay, we have citizen comment?
Tracy Hitz,
Pass.
Glenn Strauss. Pass. Shelley Smith.
Are we on?
We're on
Road repair,
Hunt County only.
number
Okay.
6.
All right. Can we motion? That's it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All 3 of you. Okay. I think we have a motion by Jaffe. I think that White beat him to it.
We won't buzz it.
All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay. Number 7, discuss and takes action on the Hibbs updated petition for release from the ETJ. So I have the redacted version here, and that's the one that's in the packet. We do try to respect the private information, so date of birth, even though it is required for the petition, we redact that. Any comments?
It all looked good. I
It
guess.
all look good?
Looks clean.
Yeah.
Okay. Tracy Hibbs?
Unless you have any questions.
No.
Okay. Glenn
No.
Strauss? Okay, Glenn Strauss? Did you want to speak on this one? You signed up.
Which one? Kids.
The Hibbs petition, number 7.
No.
Okay. Chad West? Shelley Smith? Patrick Smith? Okay.
Motion to approve.
We're getting fast at these.
Second.
Okay. Who got that one?
White.
Okay.
White Blake.
All right. So we have a motion by White, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. All right. Number 8, discuss and take action on the updated zoning map of the town. So the attorney liked it.
Yeah, he did.
He did. He was very complimentary. So this deals with mother tracks. So it's only mother tracks. That is how the zoning, and of course Simeon's worked really hard on this. We got our technical difficulties worked out, and
Updated map is updated.
the date is
Same speech as last time.
February 8th, 2024. So have you had any more emails of people concerned about anything, or?
I haven't had anybody reach out. In fact, I mean, I think we got a really good one the first time around, and now this is just modified in a couple areas, but pretty much the same thing.
Does anybody remember, last month we were corrected, maybe I have it in my notes here, that we shouldn't call this,
A zero zoning map.
we shouldn't call it a zoning map, we should call it a plan or something, because it's not actually the
Yeah, we haven't passed
execution
it.
of.
Yeah, we haven't.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought that because it went with the ordinance, it has to be, because I know in the language that Attorney Berman used, he said, because we're sending out, we have to send out letters.
We clearly can't zone outside of our little strip, so but it shows sort of the intent.
Right. It
of
showed.
what we're trying to do. So there was a term, somebody offered it up, I think it was somebody in the audience, that we really shouldn't call it a zoning map, we should call it a.
Well, it can be our.
It's not a zoning map, it's a comprehensive map.
Well, we have a
Now, our
comprehensive.
comprehensive-
And we need a zoning map that only shows town boundary impacts.
So we just need to include
does
that
that.
along with.
Yeah.
This just has a little more information to put some context to people. It would be a little confusing if you only had, the town strip in it. It wouldn't really give the full context or picture of it. It also, this kind of, the other benefit of showing the whole mother track is if a developer comes in and he doesn't look at things too carefully, and he sees that big green zone, then he might just think it's all off limits. But
Now,
that's,
is this a subject, or gonna be the subject of part of the next meeting?
yes, since this
So
includes
this
in
is
it,
just to get any comments prior to the next meeting?
right, like the last few times we brought up, just in case anybody
Okay.
found anything wrong
So
with it.
I wonder if we should maybe add the word comprehensive in there, just say proposed comprehensive.
Zoning map,
Zoning map, okay.
absolute.
Yeah, but,
It's more than the literal just
Gotcha.
Zoning.
little strip.
okay.
Makes
So
sense to
in
me.
the language that the attorney, we're having to send out letters, and of course, we're working on editing the letters. Attorney Berman liked it, by the way.
Hey,
Good.
So, we're trying to, and we have Secretary Teresa already has the 1,000 envelopes, we're ready to go, we just gotta put a few more stamps on. But, for next month, we have the legal requirement of putting the map as well as the 13-page document for the ordinance. So,
We do or don't?
we
do.
do, both of them, they have to be jointly
Right.
provided and, voted on in the public forum.
So we want to put them on the website. we'll publish
They'll be in the website,
This
they'll be,
exact, so we need like a revision number or something.
We have the date.
so that-
it has the date in the
Yeah,
left-hand
so that
corner.
you guarantee it's not different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a left,
Right.
so.
And please let me know if y'all find any issues. I can
So I
show
think
y'all
he
how.
put the ordinance up on the full public forum, right? But it's not the most current one.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Mr. Blake came in with some minor edits on there, so I'll get those
Okay.
cleaned up. Just they aren't like edits to policy. They're like formatting and, technical, trying to get verbiage
No,
consistent.
We're talking about the map, we're not talking
No.
about the written part.
I'm talking about the
He's
written
talking
part.
about the written part. So I've updated, I'll put the most recent written part probably to tomorrow or the next day.
I heard an earlier conversation about tiny homes and mobile homes and all that. Does that impact this? Is that something that needs to be?
It doesn't
No, it
impact
was
this.
just-
Yeah,
It
we
was a
just,
technical problem that was in some of the verbiage that just needs to be cleaned up.
Be cleaned up.
Cleaned up.
Before we go to press?
Yes.
It'll be cleaned up.
okay, let's hear from our citizens. Tracy Hibbs? Glenn Strauss? Chad West? Patrick Smith? Okay, all right, so.
So there's no real action?
I don't
No.
know.
Can we change the title?
Absolutely. That's a good point.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dale. You did sign up. I'm so sorry. It wasn't on the little sheet. Thank you for.
Neil Bryan. Okay,
the whole mother track thing, I was on the committee, I think I coined mother track, I'm not sure. But the idea was, this is what happened. We split up all the different sections, and we started to look at, well, dang, everybody's got an acre or two in the town. Well, it's all gonna be zoned the same thing, right? Everybody's single family one, big deal, right? So, that's why we went to the mother tract. Well, wait a minute, so if you have a 50-acre tract, which would be agrarian, and you have a 1 acre, single family one. Well, that doesn't make any sense. So we looked at the mother tract, says, okay, this is 50 acres, that 1 acre tract is now gonna be zoned agrarian. So it matches the rest of the guy's land, basically, the ETJ, right?
You get the benefit of the entirety of your.
Right,
Yes.
right. So some people are gonna have 1 acre agrarian, some people are gonna have 1 acre single family one, some people might single family two, whatever, we come up with. That was the whole idea. That was a workshop exercise, okay? So, and I agree with you, what we need to do is go back to the town and make that determination on if it's 50 acres, make that, or anything over 10 acres?
5 acres.
5 acres
Right.
agrarian? Okay, make that determination and color your map that way. Bring this map to the big meeting with all the property owners and say, this is how we got there. That's why your property is A1 and mine is agrarian, or your neighbor's is agrarian, and this is why.
Yeah.
And that makes all the sense in the
Oh,
world.
yeah, that's what he did with this map.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
But from a zoning map, so what you should do, again, you're gonna have little 1 acre tracts. Some of them are colored pink, some are green, some are blue and purple. And they're gonna ask you, why is that? We all have the same tract of land.
Yeah.
And that would be your
Had to explain
your explanation for
Explain it.
why we're doing
No,
that.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I think, and not only that, I think you give the property, I mean, this group, we're here every month, we know.
Yeah.
But 90% of the people that are gonna come to the big meeting aren't gonna have a clue.
No, that's good.
And I just think, the zoning is a big, big, big issue. Okay, it is. And it could potentially get very emotional. I've seen them. So, I just think that we just be as open and forthright to the community as we possibly can. But the minute they doesn't smell right, you're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right.
So,
Thank you, Dale.
yeah, so I think we go back to that. And one other point is all of the ETJ exclusions need to be reflected on the map.
Does it affect the
It
mother
doesn't,
tract?
it doesn't affect the mother tract. I was
Not-
reading that
not for the
language.
purpose of this.
This map, I mean, it affects this map, but yes, if you do what we're saying, just do the 311 feet, then it wouldn't.
Well,
Right, well, this isn't for ETJ anyways. ETJ isn't factored in when considering any of these properties.
Okay, but
Because the other thing is this is consistent with a couple other things, which is our trash pickup in almost all cases. Because the front of the driveway is also gonna be to the mother tract. So people can kind of reference this for something like, why am I being charged for trash pickup if my house is way out of it? It's because your driveway's there. The other thing that it's useful for is it's going off of the same verbiage as the Secretary of State gave us for voting. So this is kind of, now we can't tell people if they can vote or not, but it should be completely consistent with what the county's gonna be looking at for voting. So if you're anywhere in a colored area, you should be able to vote, really.
that's
So
helpful.
it's kind of a, we can use it for other
But-
things, to help
but-
people out.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
in agreement that we want
No, I
to change
just-
the title to propose
You were the one that
comprehensive?
brought up that suggestion,
Is
not to
that
call it a zoning map. but
A
it's not
comprehensive
literally.
zoning, or what is your?
It's not a
Zoning
zoning map because it
comprehensive
incorporates the
zoning is
ETJ.
fine.
Right, so would you
That's-
be opposed to maybe adding proposed
Well,
comprehensive
Now,
zoning?
I don't think you should, because you already have a comprehensive land plan.
And it could get confusing.
Oh, exactly. I think they're two different, well, you have to do both, okay? But the comprehensive land plan is already done, and we have that. So I think if you try to start mixing the
But why couldn't it
language.
be a comprehensive zoning plan?
I think it could.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, I-
Land is more general.
But
zoning
again,
is a little
you're talking
more-
about
And it's
people that
going to
never
be-
come to the meetings. So that's my only,
It's gonna be attached to the zoning packet
Yeah,
as
it's a-
well.
it's a
Like,
zoning
it's a
map.
part of it, so I think you've got
Or maybe we have it
context
just-
with 13
If you withdraw your
pages.
comment, I'm good. I was just honoring what you just said.
No, but it was, yeah, it was. That's what that really more represents as a comprehensive plan.
Maybe we have a little disclaimer, explain
Yeah.
the mother tracks
It's a
are
point
there.
of order, Tara.
Yeah.
So this is a map we're going to press with, but the words we haven't seen yet.
No,
They,
the words we spent 3 months on
yeah.
already. We already
You guys
did
said
that.
you were making some tweaks for tiny homes or something.
No.
Have you seen those?
it's just some technical edits. I'll
No, but
list
I just
everything
feel
on
like
the forum.
Council, because
Okay.
it's being represented as coming from the council.
Yeah, here's one of the edits. It says single-family dwelling excluding manufactured homes or manufactured housing.
But I'm not poo-pooing that we go forward, but can we get a copy of it?
It's on the public
yeah, it's-
forum.
Before it goes.
Oh, absolutely.
It's on the forum, that's
It's on
where
the
I've got
forum. It's on the public
That way,
forum.
when people start
Yeah.
calling us, we're like, I ain't seen it either.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Absolutely,
he
it's
put
on
a
the
a week ago, he put
Yeah,
a
they-
copy on the
Everyone
public
gets that
forum, and then there's a little, there's a few little grammar edits, and
Well,
then,
let's get whatever we're gonna call final on the forum, we can be
Oh, yeah,
responsible for getting
he's got
that
stuff
there.
that he's working on, and then he can put it out there
and
again.
then once we decide, on the public forum, we'll have to decide on the public forum, that is the final, then we can post that in a like a pop-up even. Like, okay, here is the
Let's
proposed.
get a version number or something.
Right.
Accused of changing things as they
And
go
we're
to
not-
print.
I put all my versions by the date, so every time I make an edit, I post it on the public forum, so y'all have access to the most recent. The sooner we can look at it, y'all can look and send me your edits. If it's any major policy, of course, we'll just have to talk about it at the meeting. But if y'all just find little things, then we can just edit it and
Yeah,
post
some of
it.
it's just
I'm
real
sorry,
small.
one other comment was, I lost my train of thought. What is the plan? We're going to have public hearing, public forums?
The law requires, anytime you do zoning, we have to we're mailing out letters, 1,000 letters to citizens, and Teresa and I have been working hard on that. And it has to have certain language. It's required to have 14 fonts, so it has to be large, bold, so that the average citizen can understand that we are doing zoning. At the next meeting, it will be at Faith Temple Baptist Church, because with 1,000 letters going out, we're probably going to need the room.
Okay, no, and that's why I'm asking. Now, the other question, having done some of this before, your 1,000 letters, where did you get that information?
From the appraisal district, the most
good,
current information possible
And you have
from
the date when you got it?
Hunt County, yes, sir.
Okay.
Hunt County
No, I'm
and,
just-
no, that's good.
I'm just
Hunt
trying to help
County
you, not
and
trying to hurt you.
and Kaufman County sent us their most current, list.
Right.
So if it's, and
keep
that's
that
actually.
under lock and key. You need to have that. In case you ever get sued or anything, you would have to prove that up.
We they sent it via email, so, and that's from our attorney, that's what he suggested.
Yeah.
So we will be sending out letters. It also will be posted in the newspaper, and it will also be on our website.
All right, I'm just making sure we do
No,
it right.
That's good.
You don't want
We
to
want,
screw it up.
we want to do it right.
Yeah, we're this close.
I know,
Been-
geez,
I
after
know,
over
after
2
2 years, yeah.
Holy smokes. I
Well,
know people are starting to come to me and be like, when are you gonna put that in place?
I know, we have people
Keeps
really
being
wanting that.
developed around here.
All right, so did we decide we're going to call this proposed comprehensive on the next one, or any,
He doesn't, yeah, we
do
can
we
leave
want
just
to
as,
vote on that?
we can leave it as is, so he
Fine,
says.
either way.
You're fine either way?
Leave it alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're at general public comments. Tracy Hibbs. Glenn Strauss. Mandy West.
So that, I think technically you have to give it to the mayor, and then the mayor distributes them.
That is in the rules of procedure.
She has to bless
Because I
him
appreciate the
real quick.
town trying to send us notification that our ETJ has been released. However, this document is incorrect, incomplete, and invalid, as it does not have our current address and does not have the address that we submitted, our other address that we submitted and supplied with our petition. I'm not sure if this was done intentionally by the town in hopes that we wouldn't catch it, or if it just goes back to the incompetency of our leader. I'm asking the town to correct this form in a timely manner for my records and the town's records. Anyone else who has received such a receipt should double check their information as well. Thank you, council.
You come back now, you can.
So this, I think this could have been handled in a simple email, but, so we are not required to do this. We did this because we were requested to. I apologize if it's I guess it was sent to your FM County Road address, but you say it's missing the County Road 323. How do we send it to two?
We don't live on 1565.
You don't. That's news to us.
What? Really?
Oh.
I have my house every day. You've released my personal information. You know it.
FM 986, okay. I'm sorry, I misstated. 986, you live, okay, but you're not saying you live over here.
No, but I submitted that town address as well
Okay.
on our petition.
All right, it's a simple error. I apologize. Secretary Teresa can fix this, and you could have emailed her.
But you also signed the documentation.
Okay,
We'll correct it.
we'll correct it.
Thank you. That's all I asked.
Yep.
Is that
All right,
Anybody else?
any other comments? Shelley Smith.
Okay, here's some facts that we know for a fact are true. The map given to the electric companies was incorrect, resulting in over $17,000 that had to be returned to people who did not owe the franchise fee. That is a fact. We know that the map was a problem for incorporation, considering that 411 people were added to the town after the incorporation vote, did not get the opportunity to cast a vote either for or against, thereby they were forcibly annexed into the town. That is a fact. We know that the original trash vendors were given inflated numbers for potential customers if they covered the town of Poetry, and in fact ended up with considerably less customers than expected. That is a fact. Given all that information, let's look at the sales and use tax. A tax that is collected in excess of $80,000 thus far. Do we know for a fact that Poetry is collecting from the correct entities? Do we know that the map, or whatever the comptroller is using, is correct? We do know that a list of companies who have collected the tax have been given to the mayor. We also do know that when Councilman Fowler requested to see that list, he was refused. Flat out denied the right to see it.
He absolutely was.
The council, not the mayor, is responsible for making financial decisions based on the town's income. Do they not have a right to see that list and double check it? All I'm asking is you guys double check this list so that tax money won't need to be returned somewhere down the line. History proves that there's been an issue with correctness in the past. Why is this list only available to the mayor, and why won't she let people who actually make the decisions for running the town see it? This information should certainly be made available to the council. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to give some factual information. Fact, the state comptroller won't allow me, it is illegal, it's a criminal offense for me to release that data, and Councilmember Fowler has been made that, he saw the email.
Don't speak with me because you're misleading.
Okay, so I am not allowed, under penalty of criminal offense, I'm not allowed to release private information that the comptroller collects. If I could, I would gladly do it, but I cannot. It is a.
Is this a strong council, weak mayor, or strong mayor, weak council?
So according to David Berman, our attorney, it's both. So I am charged as mayor to come up with the budget, and that's why they only release this data to the city manager or the mayor of a town. They don't want it out. It is confidential information because if once you know the sales and use tax revenue, then you know where a business falls in their revenue. So they don't allow that out just to council members. And I don't make the rule. I don't make that rule. If they would allow me to, I'd be happy to do that. But I don't make that rule. And that is under criminal offense. I can't release it.
On the forum?
No, I can't.
No, the law.
Oh, the law?
I'll give it to you, stand by.
So,
It's a
I
tax
get where
code.
you don't want to give their financial information.
Right.
Names, just to know that it's the right people.
Well, and of course, to correct, well, something that, there were several incorrect statements there, but the FEC map was correct that we gave. Their interpretation, however, was wrong. Encore, yes, ma'am, it was. So we're gonna have to agree to disagree, but, and there were several statements that were incorrect there that you made, and you keep revisiting the past, but let's move on. So the Texas Comptroller is in charge of that. We don't collect a dime. They are in charge of that. We talked with them at length, especially since there was a misunderstanding with FEC. Now, Encore also misunderstood. They said, they owned up to it. They said that it was on them. So we talked at length. They are familiar with this type of unique structure of the town. We talked at length about that. So, and they have different methods of finding it. We've been over this and over it. So it is on them. I have nothing, I don't collect a dime. They are in charge of this.
How did they know where to collect money from?
We really can't.
We can't discuss anymore.
Just
Yeah.
we agreed that that's the tax code you're referencing, 322.
Okay. I can't read it. The Texas Tax Code 321.3022, is that what you're saying?
That's the one
Okay.
that you're referencing.
Okay.
So it's Texas tax code 321,
Mm-hmm.
321.3022, specifically section E is what she's referencing. My argument's section F. Do your research and read it for yourselves.
Okay, Shelley Smith, Patrick Smith, Jack Sinkovich.
I know it's late and everybody's tired. Pardon me. I have problems with the letter that I also got. In order to save time, if I email you or Mrs. Scholander and say, here's what the issues are, will y'all in good faith work with me to get it done?
Absolutely.
That's all I need. Thanks.
Thank you.
Patrick, thank you.
Okay, Jack Sinkovich.
I'll pass.
Okay. All right. The time is 9:32. Meeting adjourned.
It's the 9 o'clock, that's not too shabby.
See you, Tom.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I had.
I don't remember it having any numbers, but it had like the list of businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my only concern, is this are we collecting from the right businesses? You know, I agree with her, I'm sure they know what they're doing, but I don't know, I mean, you know.
Well,
I remember looking through that list
now,
too and trying to get
with that said, there is an outside company